2, 1. Well,
good evening. Yeah.
Hello there, folks. So, well, I got to say, it's been an unusual first 10 minutes there. So, even the brightest of the lot, I forgot to turn on the video streaming software. So I've been talking away for 10 minutes on the live on radio. And then I realized, how come people haven't been watching? So there you go. So obviously I've got the city of Brisbane behind me, and just above me is Michael. We've had Michael before, and he's on the other side of Brisbane. But it's a big but. Would you believe it? Our co-host is not in the UK today. She's sitting on a little Mediterranean island. Would you believe? And she can bring us awareness to that right now and tell us.
Hi everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Dreaming the New Dream, and welcome Michael Lamb, who is a regular guest on the show, and he's going to share lots more amazing wisdom about elements and elementals. But yes, today I am in Cyprus, and I landed last night with a friend, not fully landed yet, but it's 30 degrees. I've been here before, so I know Cyprus. So the sky is blue and it's absolutely stunning. So, and I've come up to a place called Tala, so where a friend has got his computer and everything set up. So just because I left my computer cable behind, would you believe? Of all things, I've never done that before. So anyway, I'm in Tala for a short spell and enjoying every moment. And without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Michael, who's going to share about the elements and the elementals. So welcome, Michael. Lovely to see you again.
Hi, how you going? Thanks for having us back on the show. I believe it's number 6, is it? All right.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, cool. Yes, and yes, we're going live, right? Around.
We are now, yes.
Oh, good. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, getting back to the elements are basically the prime basic aspect for what we use in different modalities of the Kabbalah and many other systems. The elements is elementary, of course. So basic schooling is, of course, what they call elementary school. Pretty simple. So we use it as the foundation of spirit and mind and the physical body. So it's probably good to reiterate this as well, because it's a very, very powerful way to amplify your connection with deeper meditations, particularly the kind of meditations that we do. They're a lot stronger. Plus, we do a lot of the physical disciplines in that as well. So what I was doing overseas was absolutely working so brilliantly. We were training with the physical body, so we were strengthening the elements, and we were doing it through the layers of the physical body, and then we do it through the layers of the mental body, astral body, which is your soul, and then your spirit, which is of course related to the akasha and many other planes. Okay, yeah, so I can just reiterate. So basically the first element we're going to be getting into, and the negative and positive emotions related to the fire element, the fire principle, and the elemental beings that if you are moving around in the astral planes, you'll need to be very, very strongly protected. So fire primarily, like the akasha, is to the willpower. Your willpower is a package that comes with your spirit, your will, your primal drive to survive. So when you get into your freeze, your flight, or fight mode, fire is the element that's going to come with you. So that's going to be the one. The next element we'll be getting deeply involved with is to the air element, and the air is primarily to the mental body and the mental mind and the universal mind. All right, and training with the air element is fantastic because it's quite evasive, it's light, and we'll go through each of the constellations and how they apply to the air element and to the wind. And of course, you cannot have a life without the breath of air. It is the prime aspect, or the first thing you'll do when you come into this world is to take a breath of air, and it's going to be the last thing you do when you expire, is with that last gasp of air. So air is basically oxygen and nitrogen, and we will talk a little bit about some of the other noble gases and what they're useful for. So we're moving from the air into the mental body and the mental mind, and how we can, move things, faster than light speed. So the only thing faster than light speed that we know at this stage is thought. So if you think of Jupiter, you're there. If it takes light, it'll take a lot longer to get there. We're moving now into the water element. Just talking about this as an overview, the water element is primarily to all liquids. So we're running a stack of different liquids in our bodies. So the water element is to the life force of this planet, your streams, your rivers, your creeks, to the great seas, oceans, lakes around the world. So if you look at a delta where a river feeds out, it's going to be very, very similar to your veins. And also when it works, like arteries and also into the flesh of your body, it's feeding life force. Your blood is your life force, and how important the liquid element is. And then we're moving into one of the primary aspects, of course, is the earth element. And we'll talk about the different constellations and how the earth is to solidity and to the physical body. So right down deep into the skeleton, you have the marrow in your bones and things like this. So we're going to be looking at the anatomy of the physical body, as well as the mental body, astral body, your soul, and of course your spirit, and how they differ. And they all come together by using the last aspect of the elements, which is the fifth element, number 5. Okay, makes everything different. Okay, which is to the ether, the akasha, and the higher planes. All right, they're obviously things like interstellar planes, cosmic planes, and the outer planes. You won't be able to get access to those higher planes until you understand the aspect of etheric energy, or the ether. It's funny, it was ripped off in science and banned and everything, but most of the instruments that use the Maxwell equations use ether. So now we have Ethernet. It's all come back again, miraculously. So that's the fifth element. You've got it all here. You got 5 fingers on this hand and 5 fingers on that hand. So 5 and 5 is 10, completes it. So 5 magnetic and 5 electric. All right. So we'll get into that, and how we build electric and magnetic energy, and how powerful that can be within your body, particularly when you're working with building a lot of energy for things that you want to do, whether it be for aspects of magic or Hermetic principles, holistic energy. You need to have a very, very strong body, plus a very stable energy field, which we call the aura or the corona, or your energy field. So we're looking at this as well. Just looking at this principle here. You see the 5 there to the pentagram. Generally, we use that. You see the triangles, like the 4 triangles. If you merge those 4 triangles, you get the Star of David, which is the 6-point star. So in Hermetics, 6-point star is to the macrocosm, okay? It combines elements. And the 5-point star is the mastery of the microcosm. Everything's smaller than yourself, right down to nanoparticles, atoms, molecules, and life forces as well. So the microcosm basically deals with this planet. The macrocosm deals with all the other energies that come in as well. So micro and macro, or penta and hexa, which are 2 shapes that actually exist in your DNA, right? So 5-point star and 6-point star. And that's why they symbolize in so many flags, and so many corporations use both those symbols very, very eloquently indeed. So fire, earth, air, water, and spirit, or ether, as it were. And we'll be talking about it. This is a very good diagram. It's from an ancient game that was taken from the Grimoires. It's called D&D. So we're looking at this symbol here, this diagram. Can anyone see that well? So you look at the very first aspect of the 8 aspects of this symbol. The first is the prime material plane, number 1. That's right in the center, like the center of a sun. Okay, so the prime material plane is this earth and other things that are material, the prime material plane, where all the elements get to take place, and you get to have these incredible things called life, and you interact with all the other life forms around you, which, basically billions of types of life forms and species. The second aspect in this is the negative. Okay, there's the positive material. Sorry, that's the second part, the positive, and the third aspect is the negative material aspect. All right. So prime material, positive material, and negative material aspects. Okay, so matter and antimatter. You have day and night, in and out, up and down, yin and yang, blah 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 blah. Okay, so everything is in flow because we live in a plane of duality, as it were. We're looking at the next aspect of this. We're slowly looking at this. We're going down to aspect 4, which is the air at the top there, and these 4 quadrants, or 4 quarters, 4 directions. Air element we just spoke about. 5th one down is fire. We're looking at the fire element there, flame. And 1, 3, to 6 now is earth, and number 7 is to liquid water, and the 8 is the ethereal plane. Indeed, that's the ethereal plane. There's another aspect to the ethereal connects all the planes. The ether or the akasha exists within all other elemental places in space. This is a very good diagram if you're doing a lot of meditation or you're walking around other planes and dimensions, and you know, you're waking up in your dreams, so you're basically working in the dream state. Lucid dreaming is opposite to this. You know, we're in what's called time space, and in the lucid dream you're in space time, so time and space is inverted. So you'll need to understand these principles if you want to go into deeper ascension. You can just, you know, you could probably fluke it the way some people can do it, but generally this is very important if, you know, if you want to understand what's called, you know, primarily the philosopher's stone that we learn in Hermetics as well. And of course, the ether or the akasha is the key to the astral plane. Okay, the astral plane as well. And once you go out past the astral and ether planes, you can access all the other planes and dimensions, whether it be negative or positive. You know, like, you know, the twin paradises or the happy hunting grounds, or the you know, the heavens or the abyss or the hells or pandemonium or limbo or any of these other planes that are neutral or whatever. So you can have access to multiple planes and dimensions, which is basically what's happening with your soul. You're actually living in multiple planes and dimensions. But more on that later as we flow along. Thank you very much for showing that. Oh, good. The elements are elementary.
Right.
So you're basically
Sorry.
looking at the soul map.
Yeah, Jeff is disappeared because he's having problems with his camera, and I've unmuted because of I've got the fan going, which is quite noisy. So it's all happening today, folks. Okay. So do you need to move on to the next diagram?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Elements in the tarot. So if you're using the suits, the same thing in the tarot, it's still going to be, your wands are going to be to fire, your pence are going to be to earth, you know, microcosm, and coins, as it were, either of those. Swords will be, you know, to the air, and cups into the water. So basically, if you go back through, you know, to the modern card deck, if you're not even using the tarot, if you're just using a plain card deck, wands are to clubs, diamonds are to coins or pence, spades are to the swords, and hearts are to cups. So you're going to have the elements there again. So if you go for an overview of that, so the fire will be, you know, to enthusiasm, ambition, power, and intuition. Pants or the earth will be to being practical, you know, confidence, you know, sensation, opportunities, and being grounded. And then if you move into the aspect of the spades and the air element, it's intellectual aspects, concepts, thinking, and research. Okay, so memory, that kind of thing, wisdom. And if you're moving into the water element, the hearts, after the spades, you're going through deep aspects of emotions, opinions, psychic development, instincts, and things like that. So that's a part of the nature. So whichever way you stack it with the elements, you can access any level of consciousness within this universe. And that's what we do. Thank you. Next slide. If you want to look at this, this is just a symbol or a representation of this is, I think this is Hippocrates. You look at that, it's just the chart where you see the 4 going into the 8. See the square, you tilt it and it goes into a diamond. So you got transitional elements, and they use those words of phlegmatic, melancholic, choleric, and sanguine. Okay, so if you look at that as well, that's just another way of looking at it. So if you're following a particular religion or philosophy, that may help there as well. So, and then there's all the colors that are associated with each of the elements, and we're going to get into that a little bit deeper. Okay, can you then unmute to ask Michael? Okay, good. All right, can everyone hear me okay?
I can
Yeah,
hear
mate.
you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, good. No worries. Otherwise, I'll put the phone, so I'm not sure. Looking at the 5 points here of the Chinese chart, or Chinese, okay, as it were. So generation and overcome. So if we look at let's say if we start with fire to earth to water, and wood would be air. Okay, so we look at the plant kingdom being related strongly to the air element. As we breathe out carbon dioxide, the plants generate oxygen. So it's a symbiotic relationship we have to the plant kingdom, you know, and all the plants that heal us and strengthen us. You know, we get all our herbs and all the fruits and, you know, vegetables and things like that, because they're living consciousness, which we're going to explore a little bit deeper as we roll along as well. Fifth element being metals, because they're the minerals that run in our bodies. You know, we need iron in our blood and calcium for our bones, and you know, if we lack magnesium, it's going to create all sorts of problems. So we have all these aspects of the elements and the minerals relating to metal. All right, so everything in your life now will have something to do with like that fifth element. So there's something that's a mineral that's raw out of the ground, and then it's founded, you know, and then forged, and it forms everything from aircraft to, you know, motor vehicles, motorbikes. Everything is, you know, vehicles with steel and metals and these magic metals that we work with. Okay, being the fifth element in the Chinese. So if you're going to transfer your Western and your Eastern, this is a really good way to do it, because we need to do that East and West so that they're connected together rather than being separate. You want to be able to sort of merge them and see how they work across levels and planes. Once again, 5-point star, 5 fingers, negative and positive, as it were, as we continue. Here we are. This is the Pythagorean cosmic morphology. If you are going into advanced aspects of ascension, meditation, and practice, so you're building very, very strong elements and stronger energy fields and energy strength around your body, you would use the platonic solids or the Ashmolean solids. All right, so we're going from two-dimensional aspects of like our triangles, you know, like our 4 elements. We're moving into 3D, which are the platonic solids. So fire would be the tetrahedron. You can see it at the top there, okay, which is a 4. Tetra meaning 4-sided triangle, a triangular based triangle, and that's a key to more advanced meditations. So more on that as we go along. If you look down at the water element, we're looking, no, go back please, icosahedron, thank you. The icosahedron is to water and to the liquids, all right? And then of course, if you go up to earth, is to the cube, okay? The cube is to earth, and then across to air, which is the octahedron. Right, so many of the crystalline structures on our planet, valuable stones, grow into this. And then, of course, the fifth element is the dodecahedron. So you're morphing a 3-dimensional or a 2-dimensional 5-point star. When you turn that into 3D, it turns into what's called, we morph it into the dodecahedron, okay, which is a 12-sided pentagram. More on that if you want to get into that. That's more for Hermetics and Kabbalah and those people that want to experiment with high-end energy, you know, with Hermetics and alchemy. Exactly. What's happening to Jeff? Looks like he's been possessed by an interdimensional space monkey again. There you go. He's off. He's gone.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what's going on with Jeff today. It makes a change. It's not me anyway. Anyway, carry on. This is fascinating.
Yeah, so morphology is morphism, and it's what a lot of the ancient cultures knew about, what we call polymorphing. You know, like polytech, it's high energy, so you can morph from one aspect to another, or they call trans, or you slide through into dimensions, or what we call polymorphing, which is shape-shifting. You shapeshift. It's something that takes a lot of skill to do, but it's been done in the past. Hair, where you have aspects of lycanthropy, you know, where you have or legends about Transylvania. Surprise, surprise, that name coming up again. Okay, so that's a deep area to go into, but it is covered if you want to read and study that kind of area. You know, Eastern Europe has a lot of knowledge, you know, around the Black Sea and the Balkans, all down there. That's a big area to get into. Like this, as I said, if you want to go into 3D shapes, you move through the Pythagorean solids, or what you call the platonic solids, and that'll get you into 4D and 5D. Makes things in 5D very easy to access. You get to understand how the 5th dimension or the 5th dimension works, because there are higher dimensions. And dimensions, even science says this, they can be in another frequency. You can't see them, but you can access them, or they can be crumpled up in front of you. All these different aspects. There's so much value that you can understand in what doesn't exist in your normal spectrum of what you hear and what you see and what you feel and what you taste. Okay, good. All right, we've just got.
Can I butt in there? Because, there's different people say there's dimension, there's so many dimensions in one dimension, and then there's more dimensions in. I mean, you could go on and on and on. So, what's your take on numbers of dimensions in a dimension? If you know what I mean.
I'll just do the basic stuff. I'm not going to go right into that, because that's just going to take several months to explain that, unless you've already been working with these energies for a long time, or you brought it in from another cycle. We basically work in 3 dimensions, okay? Up, down, as I say, let's do it with the directions, okay? North, south, east, and west, and up and down. That'll give you 3 dimensions. Or the room that you're in at the moment, all right? It has width, breadth, and height. The 4th dimension we generally call time. All right. So what I just said 5 seconds ago, I cannot retrieve that. That's gone down the timeline. So that's time. When you understand time, this is when, I've spoken about it before, about the Philadelphia experiment and things like that. This is really beyond the scope of most people, because they think it's a mental construct. Well, if time's a mental construct, stop aging. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, but it's hard. Yes, I know. If you're in the 5th dimension, you're not living in the 5th dimension, you're living in the 3rd dimension. So if you understand the principles of anti-gravity and all that sort of stuff, which, has been around for years or decades, even millennia, that's how advanced, spacecraft and beings can move in and out of portals and dimensions quite fast. That's anti-gravity. So you understand the principles of time. When you do advanced meditation, say the macabre, all right, you understand the speed of time. So you want to get to 9/10 the speed of time. 9/10, sorry. You've got to get to the speed of light, sorry. Speed of light is 186,000 miles per second, about 300,000 kilometers per second. 9/10 of that is the speed of time. Time and light work together, and same with gravity. So when you have like crop circles or any of these sort of formations or anomalies appearing, or poltergeist activity like that, you'll have a distortion in time or time space, or where there's been a really massive battle and there's been a lot of carnage. So there's a lot of disturbed souls. So it'll tear a hole into the space time. And that's where entities can come in and out, as it were, whether they be good, bad, indifferent, or whatever. So the time aspect, you'll have to understand by learning to awaken in your dreams. Is probably about one of the best ways to do it. Which is called lucid dreaming, or awakening on the other side. When you do that, you can understand the distortion of time, because you can have a 2 or 3 hour nap and go on the other side and be awake for like 3 or 4 days, or then you can have the inception aspect, where you wake up in a dream within a dream, and so on and so forth. I don't know how to explain it any other way. You're not going to get onto the 5th dimension and understand, unless you sort of understand how time works. And time has 3 dimensions, and this is all done through aspects Gary Ives' work and what Tesla was working with, and many other aspects. It's too big to sort of really get into it, but you got to understand how torsion fields work. The torus. Okay, how about I do it this way? If you have a dot, that's like 1 dimension. If you have a circle, it's 2D, all right? Outside, inside is 2 dimensions. If you have a sphere, that is 3 dimensions. If you have a torus, that is 4D. Now, a torus looks like an apple, all right? See how it sinks in at the top and then sinks down at the bottom. But inside the apple, or the orange, or 90% of the fruit, you have self-replication. It creates a seed. It creates a seed. If you cut it in half, you'll see the seed. That's a torus field. See how it in and out, it feeds in on itself, or torsion fields. And that's where you create spiral in and spiraling out currents. That's a torsion that creates life. So if you eat the apple, you pick up the seed, it has all the memories of the tree. So the seed of life creates the tree of life, which bears the flower of life, which bears the fruit of life. So it's self-replication. It's understanding the Ouroboros and many of these other aspects of symbology. Does that make sense from 4D?
It certainly does. Thank you for that. Right.
Yeah, good. That's good. Don't worry about fifth and sixth dimensions, because
No, we
the
won't go
mind
there.
won't, unless you're working with energies such as like Mercury and, you know, outer aspects like Uranus and Neptune. It's just, it's your mental mind won't work. It'll just go like that. It'll short out. It will.
Totally.
You know, yeah, it's like going into a damn winter class. You know, everyone just shorts out in 5 seconds, like, because you're just speaking so otherworldly. You know, it really is. But if you understand the aspects, once you get into 4D, it's easier to understand 5D, 5 dimensions, and how that principle works. Hypercubes and things like that, or tesseracts, and that way you're not so much caught up with illusion. This world has like many aspects of illusion, which we call the 7 veils. Until you can see through at least 3 or 4 of those veils, or in higher levels of the veils, you won't see it, because it's Maya, and you're not ready to see beyond those veils, because it'll shatter your soul. It will just shatter you. If you understand what's really going on this planet, it will rip you apart. It really will. You're not ready for it. The emotions, you see people, you know, the psych wards are full of people that they've accessed too much, or they're hearing the voices and things. They don't know how to explain that, and they're just going to go to the mainstream, and you know what happens from there, sort of thing. You know, what's my straitjacket would you like today? You know, that kind of
I've worked in the mental health
large, you know, sort of thing. Yeah, so you're not ready to do it. You got to be able to deal with it. If you have any aspect of this knowledge, you've got to have a belief system or an aspect where you can house it. Otherwise, you're going to start leaking energy out into other fields and zones, as it were. And that's why we're talking about the elements and elementary energy, because it's a foundation where you can house the most advanced spiritual knowledge. And we'll come back to those 5 principles in positive and 5 principles in negative. And you just look at it being electric and magnetic energy. So we're going to go through that. Okay, just getting there. The 3 fire aspects that we're talking about, all the 3 constellations, are going to be Aries, the Ram, obviously Leo, the Lion, and the Centaur, Sagittarius. Right, and they're 3 large constellations in our sky, and they represent the fire energy. So there are star systems. So, for example, when we work with fire, unless you're quite proficient at building fire, you actually flood the whole physical body. You sit in meditation, so you learn how to, you know, go through the basic meditation principles, you know, the really basic beginner stuff. And when you get into the silence, you actually learn how to do what's called vacaciousness, and then you fill your body with the fire element. And when you build the fire, you build it and you build it and you build it and you amplify it. You usually do like 7 breaths in and 7 breaths out, and you build it within the physical body, the mental body, and the astral body, and then of course in the akasha. Now this takes a lot of practice, but once you've done it, you're on. So fire is light. So if you want a higher frequency of fire, rather than say like a campfire or a stove, or just you can build like laser light or plasma. But what we do is we tap the stars. So we'll tap the sun and get to feel the energy of the sun. I mean, you could use Mars, but Mars can be a bit volatile. So if you use the energy of the sun, it's how you build massive aspects of energy, and really good, because it's electric energy. So you tap it. So it's got a very strong masculine energy about it. Right. Of course, it's got phenomenal feminine energy too, but the sun is a constant, it's an absolute. Hence why there's so many, you know, sun gods around the world. You know, the sun gods, because it's something that's always been there. And every single one of those prophets, it doesn't matter if it's Jehovah or Buddha or Jesus or anyone, they all walked under the sun. If they're on this planet, they've all walked under the sun. So the sun creates infinite life in nanoseconds, trillions of tons of life forms. So it's intelligent light, so much so that it penetrates the earth. And that's the structure that it creates. And its shape is to the 6, okay, or what's called the hex. So that aspect, it grows. So most of the crystalline structures are 6-pointed hexes, you know, say rubies, emeralds, and your quartzes, you know, obviously amethyst and citrine and those sorts of things as well. But we'll get into those structures another time. It's too much for the average person until you start working this, and then you get massive impressions and massive intuition. So there's your main 3 fire signs, of course, just in this local. We'll look at the zodiac, because that's going to be the 12, and that's a key to time as well. Remember, a clock face has got 12, you know, 13 signs the hands tell time, another key to the 4D. Generally, people under these signs have tendencies towards more fire emotions. Of course, these emotions are not just limited to these signs. And of course these emotions and feelings can be balanced and mastered. Now, so when you have your chart, you're going to have a combination. Your sun sign is generally most of your personality, but also your moon sign's important, and your rising sign will make up, plus where your planets are. So it's like an alchemical formula or a numeric formula, or or what we call a Kabbalistic formula. When you understand that, you can access a lot about a person's energy sequences and the year they were born. It's going to stack, because that's how it works. So fire element, we build it to create willpower, drive, enthusiasm, those sorts of things. So you can see it there. It's the triangle pointing up that represents fire. It's a universal symbol. So if you're communicating with high energy beings, you use symbolism. It's faster than this English language. You'll trip over it all the time. By the way, the English language is the language of angles. Okay, originally England, okay, was angles. Angles came over. You don't hear about them much. They've sort of been written off out of history, like the ancient Britons. They wrote off the Arthurian lines and things like that. But those bloodlines are real and they're around, but they've been strategically removed by the powers that be. But that's something that if you want to go into that research, it takes guts, drive, and energy to follow that. We're not just talking airy fairy spirituality. You want to research that and look at those bloodlines and how powerful they are and where they go back to. All right, so fire is obviously to discipline and strength, like drive and to get things done. So willpower comes with your spirit. It's a package deal. When you come into this world, you sign up for it and bang, away you go. So that's an overview of fire. We're just going to look at the signs there. So you have on that there, I had trouble trying to bring that up there, but I have it in my book and my ebook as well. You have the negative fire traits of Aries and the positive emotional fire traits of Aries, So obviously, there's Aries is that ram. It's an initiator. It's powerful in symbolism. They use it on vehicles like cars, the Dodge Ram, and it's huge. Okay, it's the initiating force. Like two rams butting head. So the ram sound, or ram, is to the solar plexus. As if you're going through the Roy Bib method in your chakras. Leo, the lion, it's pretty straightforward. The positive aspects are going to be pride, and its negative is going to be arrogance and things like that. But there it is there on the chart in front of you. I've only sort of put about 6 positive emotions and 6 negative emotions, respectively, to Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Sagittarians make great teachers. They're very direct. They get to the point straight away. And the negative aspects of obviously going to be the negative emotions. And this is only just a quick overview. To us, it's, we've been doing it for years. Astronomy, astrology, cosmology, tarot, it's just second nature to us because we practiced and practiced and practiced. We've built these energies. And when you get very, very familiar, you're working with these energies. So fire is to your spirit, it's to your drive, and then you break it down into aspects. Once you can control these fire emotions, you've got phenomenal energy. You're building massive amounts of energy in your body. Sex drive is more powerful. Your initiation to get up and do things physically, mentally, and emotionally is very much empowered. Fire, we spell with an F, even in battles, that fire, it's fire, the firefight. We remove the F and we use the P and H. That's later if you want to understand true Kabbalah and unifying a lot of energy, which is the phi and 5, the word 5. Okay, so it's a spiritual fire. All right, moving along. Otherwise, I'll get too esoteric and people aren't going to follow as usual. All right, looking at the fire of the sun. The sun's a constant, creates trillions of tons of life in a nanosecond. It's intelligent. It's not just some random idiotic, bunch of gases put together. It's what actually happens to us. Okay, we're suns. Okay, we're here having an earthly experience. Sons and daughters. Okay, so the daughter is the 4th dimension. So the womb to the tomb. You're birthed in this world, your soul. Okay, so you actually like suns. So your sun is a star being. It's an infinite. It's an absolute. I don't care about mainstream science. Oh, it's only going to last another 4 billion years. Who cares? That means nothing to you or me. It means nothing because they're absolutes. They're absolutes, and they create trillions of tons of life and every kind of species through their siblings, which are the planets. Okay, so it's an understanding of structure and movement and energy, like molecules in the microcosm, solar system, and the macrocosm. So fires to will, drive, directive, assertiveness, courage. You need these things. Focused energy, energized, motivated, power, initiation, you know, electric energy, endeavor, being proactive, you know, ecstatic, opportunistic, you know, explorative, you know, relationships, a spark. If you don't have that with someone, forget it. You're not going to have a relationship. It's just not going to go anywhere. It's going to be flat and boring. So you need that spark and energy. I'm not going to apologize how I speak. This is how I speak, and, you know, just to get the knowledge and the energy across, you know, because let's face it, we're not getting any younger. So the sun is a star being, and that's what your spirit is. So eventually, as we ascend, we become part of soul or star groups, and our conscious moves into suns, and we get the opportunity to create, you know, all these crazy aspects of life. So this is fire element moving through it. So it's will and drive, you know, it's God force, or part of the Godhead. Okay, so the stars get bigger and bigger, and then you get into this, you know, sectors of galaxies and so on and so forth, and intelligent beings. So what we call diva, you know. So if you're going through the angelic levels, you got angels, archangels, then you move into principles. These are beings that will help you in anything in your life endeavors. They have negative aspects and then they have positive. Okay, you have negative beings and positives. So more on that later. If you're studying Kabbalah, fine, but if you're not, forget it. Just don't touch it. It's too much for you. Moving right along. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a fire being. I took a photo of. It's in a fire, but you won't see it. Probably don't have the detail. But if we use high res 4K, you'll see the being there. But in fire, it's intelligence, it's heat, it's light, it's creative. It's the elemental beings that are related to the fire element, of course, are going to be salamanders, drakes, and Draco, okay, or dragons. And dragons relate to all the elements because they're the fifth element as well. But they exist in other planes and dimensions, and they're very intelligent beings, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about nursery rhymes and how powerful they are, and that's where it gets to as well. So fantasy becomes reality, and mainstream news becomes whatever mainstream news is. I don't care. So we live in this other world where we can access all realms and dimensions. All right, great. Okay, moving along. Michael's Alchemy at gmail.com. Thank you very much for that. Another aspect of a fire being, not a very great shot. You're not going to see the detail there, but fire elemental beings. Okay, there are different names and different types of them. Okay, they're the Afriti in this one. You see that's an Afriti. It's just a sketch. So they're fire beings. So once again, like genie or jinn, all right, they're beings. The genie will work with you, generally positive wise. The negative are the jinn, and they're mentioned in a lot of the Middle Eastern texts, and a lot of the Asiatic, and also parts of Europe and Africa. They don't like humans. They don't like them, so they are very accessible to manipulating them through the lower chakras, because they know how to move in and out of 4 and 5 dimensional planes. They can access the astral planes very easily. To the right of the Afriti, that's a fire tornado, or what's called a fire spout. So every single element will have it. When you have massive amounts of energy, that will be spiraling currents. It's just like when you pull out the plug in a bath. It spirals. It spirals out. It creates a vortex, and it'll pull everything down with it, like a ship sinking. But it needs oxygen, air, and water go together. Same with fire. To feed the fire, otherwise it'll go out. It needs oxygen to feed it. So what we get is like fire spirals, like a tornado, and that becomes like what's called a firestorm in very extreme aspects of forest fires, things like this. But understanding spiraling fire is basically, that's a very coarse view, but that's basically what lasers and pulse and, you know, plasma and things like that. I'll get into that as we get into the fifth element a little bit further, but we better keep rolling because we're tight for time already. So moving to our next element, we're moving to the air, you know, or to the wind. All right, the first thing you do when you enter this life, you're going to take a breath of air, and we build air around us. Okay, this is called the breath of life. Okay, air is oxygen and nitrogen. So when you're meditating, a really good skill to learn to calm your mind, because everyone when they're meditating have this issue to shut their stupid minds up, because your mind will transmit and receive thousands of thoughts. That's what it's meant to do. But if you master your mind, mastermind, I did this because I've got an incredibly fast mind, and we had to learn to master it. Use the air principle. So breath. So when you breathe, you calm your mind through oxygen and nitrogen, because your mind is starving for those two aspects. And then it'll produce beautiful oxytocin and serotonin and all these other phenomenal aspects. You know, like it'll create its own tryptophans and tryptamines too. If you have enough, you're actually in a stasis of good air. You need clean air, like clean water. So the air is to the breath of life, and it nourishes our soul and spirit like light does. So all living things need air, you know, and even fish, you know, with their gills, they're bringing oxygen out of the water. So it creates that stasis. It's a fundamental absolute, you know, they're principles. So it gives us high quality of life. So, you know, you can't just live like in a poisonous environment, you know, where there's smoke and smog. It's not good for you. So you want clean air, clean air. That's why if you're really stifled, go for a walk on the beach, go for a walk in the forest or the park, you get good air, and you can focus on things outside your own self. So the air element is prime requisite for that. We do what's called pore breathing when we're building massive amounts of energy. So we actually imagine the air around us in a sphere or a torus field, and we breathe it through our pores. That gives us like a renewed energy to our skin and our life as well. It relates to the mental mind and then later to the spirit mind. So if you're moving from your mental mind to the spirit mind is very calm. It's just zen. It can hear. So it's very good for intuition and picking up thoughts of others. So if you're working with psychic abilities or holistic abilities of healing and so on and so forth, all the modalities, I won't have time to cover them. Just understand that. So air, we'll be having a symbiotic relationship with water as we go. So obviously the air is something that needs to be built within the body. So you imagine that when we build the air, we actually take our time. We usually do about 7 to 8 breaths, deep breaths. You know, you can last weeks without food, maybe days without water, but you can't live without a breath. You know, you need that. Maximum's only, you know, several minutes. That's it. You need the air. So air element is prime requisite to that. Right, so it's also to atmosphere we'll get into as well, because the same as when you build energy around your body, you're creating your own atmosphere. And we're looking at the 3 constellational signs of the air element, of course, which of course will be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Right, so they have positive and negative traits, positive and negative emotions. So for example, we'll just pick on Gemini. Positive would be sensitive, you know, strong mind, you know, sharp mind, quick, liveliness, you know, playfulness, lightheartedness. They're positive emotions. Negative emotions would be oversensitive, you know, unforgiving, insecurity, uncaring, mistrustful, frivolous. But this is the beauty when we're working with energy. You get to understand that you can just tweak the negative emotion and bring it back into positive very, very fast. You don't get caught in depression or a grand funk, or where a lot of people go with their emotions. Because no matter what you do in this world, you can't get rid of your emotions. They're a package that come with your spirit. So you learn to balance your emotions. So it's like you balance things. It's like a diet or your exercise or your life or your relationship. You balance it. You balance it. Libra, once again, positive emotions would be clear thinking, peacefulness, you know, evaluation, diplomacy, tolerance, you know, discretion, things like that. The negative would be a weak will. Indecision is a big one, fickleness and things like that. I won't go through it, but it's negative and positive. It's black and white. It's yin and yang. So, you know, over masculine, over feminine. You need a balance between the two. Aquarius would be logical, you know, reasoning, you know, friendliness, courteousness, you know, pleasantry, and high spiritual awareness. Negative would be pettiness, bad temper, you know, delusions, airhead, you know, thoughtlessness, and things like that. So you're understanding the makeup of the energy. Because remember what I said about the sun? It's infinite. Without the sun, nothing would live on this planet. So our sun grows through the 12 disciples, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 constellations. It's like a little sibling. Our solar system grows once again up the scheme of things, and within us we're building like solar systems and galaxies within our own molecular structure, you know, as you go down into your own self and your own biofields, as you see. So sun, air, life, breath of life. Thank you. That's good.
Amazing. You haven't got, you're working through the different signs, so, and anybody can just take a screenshot if they want, as we're going along.
Yeah, exactly. That's a picture I took at the beach just after a powerful storm. We'll get into the storm element too and what it creates electromagnetically. So as we're moving from air, we call fire to the electric, air to electromagnetic, and as we're moving into the water element, the principle, with the air element, the beings are like, fairies, dryads, air spirits, that are related, pixies, that kind of thing. Brownies. You see them in forests if you're you've developed your third eye skills, or your clairvoyance, as it were. You get to sort of see spritlings out of the corners of your eyes. You can see them. They're very fast, and they don't exist in this plane or dimension. But when doing that, it sounds like just absolute. He's away with the fairies. I don't care.
Literally.
I really don't care. Well, if you go to Findhorn and you know how really good plants and that grow, you can access these beings, and they'll help you with your gardening and your connection. The more you're tuned into this, the more knowledge that they'll give you, as it were. You're working with elemental beings, So that's it. That's just, I see the shape of beings in nature. And that's just
I'm me all the time. Trees,
exactly.
trunks. Yeah. I can see like, oh my God, look at that, and look at that, and oh, look at that, and there's a face there, there's a horse there, and
yeah, exactly. In this photograph here, this is a fairy circle I captured up at I was instructed by the Origines and the spirit guardians not to give away exactly where I found a lot of these things and where I photographed. This is only like 1% tip of the iceberg of what I've seen and photographed in my life.
Yeah.
And so that's a very ancient tree. It's called an Arctic beech tree. It's about 5,000 years old, and it has faces. You'll see on the side of that tree there, you'll see a guardian spirit there. You'll see it if you know what you're looking for.
I can see a little fairy. Looks like she's got a wand, right? You can't, just halfway up from the trunk to my right there.
There you see it. Yeah, good on you. I knew you'd see it.
Yeah.
Mental fairy being. All right. So where they are, that's where beings that the ancients or the old folk or the old fellas, that the wise women, they can see that sort of stuff in cultures, whereas the average person that's programmed in society, they don't see it. So the more you tune into it. Okay. So where are we going now?
Findhorn, I reckon. Yeah.
Okay, Findhorn. Yeah. All right. So I would like to go into Findhorn and explain a little bit more about it. Don't really have time. It's interesting. You see the water there as well. Once again, like the veins. Once again, if you look at top down on planet Earth, if you look at areas, how deltas of water and they push the sand out in the ocean. It's just basically like the veins in your body pushing. Keeping your breath. Or you keeping your blood connected to your skin and the pores, they're drawing in energy and out. We do that when we're building a lot of elemental energy for, physical training in Qigong or Tai Chi, or what we call the elastic force. It was really good to be training back with Mark and those fellows again, and Sifu Ludwig as well. This is a shot I took of a flower. Also, if you look at it, it's like a tiger lily. Yeah, can you see the diva there? Can you see? Yeah, the face. Yeah. If you blow it up, you'll be entranced for that for hours. Exactly. So everything is living. You get to actually see the faces, and it's like your child nature. So you're accessing your intelligence of your youth very, very clearly, without all the pre-programming from the system, the mainstream going over the top of you and jamming your energy. So you can remove static with elements. So then you start to see the faces and reality. But you've got to hold it together. You've got to be very, very strong and grounded, with your life. So just looking at the fair aspects there of the flower.
Nature is amazing, isn't it? When you look, there's so many different flowers, and they've all got little faces, or they're like little birds, or it's just, yes, some of it is phenomenal.
It's all phenomenal. It's absolutely incredible. Phenomenal. It's brilliant. All right, taking us now through our third element, the water element. Just in this series, whichever way people stack, it's different, right? So most of the disciplines of Buddhism and Hindus, they go into this, or Shinto or Sifu, they'll work with the elements, and all the martial arts, the high-end things, particularly Shaolin and Kung Fu, they'll be working with these kind of things. So the water element represents coolness, coldness, and the abundance aspects of life. It has, relates to emotions, which is energy in motion, and It's the maternal part of creation. Is the key to magnetism. Water's magnetism always finds its own level. It always runs back to itself. It, it can either be destroyed or obliterated. If you heat it up, it turns into steam. If you freeze it, it turns into ice. So blah, blah, blah. You see all that. So it represents fluidness, harmony, and all liquid states, joy, compassion, devotion, and happiness. The energies of the water element relate to melancholic aspect, part of our being. So the water element relates to the essence of our soul. So liquid aspect, your soul is more of a liquid being, and it's different to your spirit. Spirit is to the fire, soul is to the water. That being the emotional astral body. So your astral body and your soul is very much involved with the overall picture of this lifetime, just this lifetime. Spirit is over many lifetimes. And your mind is more about the now, the certain parts of the past, and where you're focusing on the future. Okay, so you're starting to see how the elements work in all levels, planes, and dimensions. And when you understand that, this will give you an edge. It's phenomenal what you can do with it, because you can actually really build a lot of energy for astral traveling, whereas other people will phase out or they'll freak out, and others, they want that sustainability. I don't know, some people might be doing really, really well with that, but that's more speculation. I won't go into that. So the astral body relates to the subconscious. All right, the mind is conscious, astral body subconscious. So you'll get deja vu from the astral body. You'll get aspects of I've been here before, what's happening here again. Astral body will give you impressions. Oh, I saw that in a dream. This is what's happening in the day. It's unfolding. Synchronicities with numbers. You see 333 or 111 or 222 or things like that. So you can understand what the numerology means as well. It's really simple stuff, and it's obviously what those things mean. Or you're on harmony or on path. You walk across, you find a feather, that kind of thing as well. So, and like a physical bodies, there's many types of frequencies of different fluids. This is reflected, in our body types. So obviously you have, tear ducts, you have perspiration, you have the blood, you have your plasma, you have your sexual fluids, things like that. So looking at different densities of life force within the liquid. So you need the water element. It is massive on our planet to the massive oceans. It creates, trillions of life force aspects, from all the seaweed to the great whales, sharks, and, the stingrays, and all the aspects of plankton and so on and so forth. So you're looking at trillions of levels of life force. So the more you can absorb it into your being, the more you can deal with certain situations. And this is how the great monks, the Tibetans and that, can do phenomenal, what people just think is miracles. But to us, it's just tempering the body. It's what the great druids and magicians and the magi could do before. Here we are with the three constellations to the water. We have Cancer. I don't like that word, so we call it Sanskrit name. We call it Tashia. Is its real name. That's why I'm not a big fan of mainstream anything. So Scorpio.
That's me.
Right above the sky. And then we have Pisces. What was that? Sorry.
I'm a Scorpio.
Yes, Scorpio is very, very powerful. So you have the negative emotions of the Scorpion, Cancerian, and Piscean energies, and you have the positive emotions of that. So just going through positive aspects of Tashia, which is your Cancer, it's maternal, it's hardworking, it's caring, it's compassionate, it's beloved, and it's gallant. Negative would be frigidity, inwardness, uncertainty, narrow-mindedness, cold, or disorganized. Positive Scorps, observant, dynamic, attractive, ardent, determination, humorous. These are only just a fraction. It's only just a glimpse of the makeup of these particular signs. It's not the be all and end all. I'm just giving you a touch or a taste of the magic, of the miracle, the energy that we work with in Hermetics. So negative Scorp would be nervousness or instability or negative seduction or secretive of a negative aspect, or stormy an aspect, or combative energy or whatever. And once again, these are just raw aspects. You're looking at Pisces, and positive would be tenderness, concern, psychic, imaginative, warm, good-hearted. Negative would be the dreamer, living in other worlds, were neglect, isolationist, depressionist, shyness, and superficial. Remember, all these emotions and that, they're a whole combination. There's about 200 major emotions. And once again, it just works on moods. And moods are controlled by the moon, mood, because the moon is magnetic and it controls the tide. So it controls liquid. And if we're 70, 80, 90% liquid, as I've said before, dozens and dozens of times, please listen to this. Every law enforcement officer and every nurse will tell you on full moon to get more nutcases. Okay, that's what happens because the magnet is lunacy, right? That's what lunacy is. It's magnetizing, it's amplifying their blood and their emotions and their moods. So it's going to send people off the edge. But it's very, very powerful in passion and romance and all these other aspects. It's the in and out aspect of the tide, so it's constant, so it's the sexual rhythms or the movements, as it were, within all levels, planes, and dimensions. So thank you for that.
Can I quickly ask what are your thoughts? Because there's a lot of people talk about the 13 signs as opposed to the 12.
Yeah,
And so,
Orpheus is the 13th sign. Orpheus.
yeah,
We work with it. I don't go into it because it's a whole new kettle of ballpark.
yeah,
What that
yeah.
is.
I know somebody said a snapshot.
Yeah, it sits between Scorpio and Sagittarius, which is the center of our galaxy. There's a lot in there. I could spend one whole night just talking to you about that. If you look at Orpheus, I have it here on the charts. Okay, Orpheus is the serpent around the human body. Okay, so that's your kundalini out of whack. You failed the mission. So Orpheus, whereas its opposite is Hercules. Hercules, remember, he's an Argonaut and he goes through the 12 tests, which are of course the 12 constellations. It's really simple stuff if you know what you're looking for. Basically, if you can go through any of those mythologies, whether it be Norse or Sumerian or Egyptian or Mediterranean mythologies, or even your Slavic, Celtic, whichever, they're actually telling you the story of the soul. That's what it is. There's actually a lot of truth in there, but it's hidden in mysticism, and it wouldn't be around. It's been lasting for centuries and centuries and centuries, let alone millennia. So bullshit doesn't last. Who cares what some idiot politician said last week? It means nothing. Whereas the story of mythology and legend is truth, but it's hidden. It doesn't mean anything until you click it, and then when you wake up, you're not controlled. You can get in and out of the matrix, as it were, and that's what that's what I'm primarily involved with. And that's, I can work with those people that are ready to sort of understand that kind of energy, or if they want to develop it in holistic aspects and things like that. So you got to understand the negative and positive aspects of beings, as it were. The Orpheus energy is when you cannot control serpentine or high energy of kundalini. You've got all that incredible and it's going out of whack. Whereas Hercules, what's he got? He's got the Hydra, the 7 heads, the negative, and he's mastering them. They become the 7 virtues. If you look at it in Asiatic aspect, you'll see the female Buddha with the 7 serpents. Okay, the 7, she's mastered the 7 virtues, as it were. Serpent symbology is older than even a lot of the star law. It's really ancient, and it relates to your DNA, your kundalini, the caducees, the Ankh, and all that. We'll get into that. I just don't even have a chance to even get into a scope of that. So the 13th sign is Orpheus. Some people call it arachnid, arachne, because it's like the web that surrounds the planet. You can look at that. If you want to research that, depends how far you want to go with it, but I don't like the arachne aspect of being the spider. Well, that's another aspect of culture too, because if you want to look at the Chinese zodiac, those constellations exist in the sky, those 12 as well. So that's another area we can get into. We can get into Maya calendar, but beyond the scope of tonight's work. Let's finish off these elements, please, and elementals. It's very important. Thank you. That's a very good point. We'll get into it at another point in time, please. That's a photo I took of the Mediterranean. So you're looking at different consistencies of blues, aqua, turquoise. I'm showing you those liquid forms, all right? So that's Fingal down there, that one there. I just took that. So there's Mediterranean. There's 2 aspects of liquid. See the densities of liquid? You have these different liquid levels in your body there. Mediterranean was clear. I found when I was swimming in the Mediterranean, a lot denser, a lot more buoyant water than it was in the Pacific Ocean. That one there, I took a photo outside Hanoi in this lake, and the liquid looked like it was like a portal, So we have these liquids in our body to make up the density of our life force, all things, as it were. So exactly, that's a water elemental. I photographed that. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say where I photographed that being, but he smiled at me through a waterfall. I've got it on video and things, but I'll bring out the water. I'll stream this whole thing on elementals. I've been making it. It's in the making. So there goes your water elemental. Okay, we're going into earth element, representing the kingdom, foundation, solidity, your home, gravity, denseness. The earth element relates to the planet earth, and terra firma, our physical bodies, is to the earth element. You know, we live out in the physical life with other physical beings, as it were. So, you know, working with the earth element will increase the strength, solidity, and health of your own physical body. There's a great truth in the old saying, man was formed from clay. Okay, there's a lot more into that, but I won't have time to roll into it tonight. So through the earth element, we may ground and balance with elemental energy by working with, of course, aspects of stone, right? So a lot of the stone buildings, the ancient cathedrals, are living stones. So it's sandstone or limestone. It has 5 elements in it. Let's look at all our intelligent, all your technology, the whole bloody lot. I don't care what you got. It's quartz. Okay, it's quartz, or the lasers are rubies, or they're beryllium emeralds. So they're stones. They have intelligence, and you have beings in crystals, little crystal beings, as it were. So I bring out one of my crystals, you'll see the beings. Okay, so you know I have a massive citrine. So if you want, I'll bring that out towards the end there, and we'll cover every question and every aspect I get asked. So with our 3 earth elements, we have obviously Taurus, you know, to the fixed cross. We have Virgo to the mutable cross, and Capricorn, of course, to the what's called the cardinal cross. So they're positive and negative emotions. So I won't go through all this. It's too much. I don't think we have that much time. So positive aspects of Taurus would be respective, firm, responsive, endurance, beauty, consideration. Negative would be cynical, bullheaded, you know, spendthrift, you know, juvenile, you know, heartless, stubborn, you know. It's pretty easy to work that out. You know, bull cultures worshipped in, you know, dozens of ancient cultures and countries and nations. You know, the bull culture is very strong. It's a very powerful symbol. Positive Virgo, you know, precision, fair, objective, elegant, you know, sociable, you know, analytical. You know, negative would be boasting, laziness, dullness, presumption, and you know, inferiority. You know, unobservant or something like that. Capricorn, if looking in Earth, positive emotions of Capricorn would be methodical, meticulous, reserved, you know, wise, that sort of thing, or very, very conservative, you know, with money. Negative would be greedy, needy. Those kind of emotions are there, you know, materialistic, boring, those kind of energies. So there you go. Basically, that's a wrap of your positive and negative aspects into the constellations of the Earth element. There were Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, respectively. They're showing you the types of stones. So stones, as I say, within high tech, the highest technology, we use them as well. That's a photo
Oh,
of an element.
the face.
Yeah, I knew you'd go nuts. I wanted to put the elements with the elementals because the elementals gets too airy-fairy because you're looking in other realms and dimensions. You can see it. So the stone and the mountain and the water and all the elements talk to you and they show you. Okay, this is called a morphism. It's a high, what we call spell or affirmation. You know, whether I don't know whatever cultures you're into, whether it be Druid or you know, magic or Wicca or Wiccan or, you know, whatever you're doing. You might be following Hinduism or whatever, but you understand, you communicate with the elements. Okay, so in the ancient cultures, let's say, I don't know, let's say a Hopi. Okay, so you talk, the river has a name, the creek has a name, you name the elements, and because they give life. You know, if you live on the mountain, it supports thousands, tens of thousands of life forms. So it's there together. And people today, they're absolutely, you know, they're not part of it. Whereas if you reconnect to it, that's where you get your strength and your energy from. So you'll see it and they will show you. And that's only a fraction of the elemental photography I've taken. So
I bet.
I've seen about
very,
11
very
faces on there
place.
already.
I was,
Yeah.
yes, with the secrecy I'm not allowed to tell. So, and I won't. I'm good with secrets. I am. This is a cave. I'll let you know. I took that on an island in Vietnam, out from I think it was Halong. No, it wasn't Halong Bay. It was that was it was in South Vietnam. I think it was. Yeah, you see this. You see the faces in that one.
But look at the girl with the long brown hair here. You can see her sort of looking up in my bottom left corner.
I'm
See
looking
her
at the big bearded dude in the front. Look at that guy. Like that's a gnome, you know, so, or a dwarf. So, and they don't even, no one knew about that, but I saw it. So I took the shot. So I took that in 2006 in a cave in it may have been Halong Bay. I forget which bay it was. But yeah, powerful energy. So as you go into subterranean earth, you'll connect to these beings,
Mm.
dwarves, dwarfs, and gnomish beings. They exist in different spheres, so they don't have the same lifespans as us. It's all in the old fairy tales. And they
Yeah.
were all written off by our big friends there in the church because it keeps people separated from their true heritage and their true life. Whether if you have this, it's very good for your longevity and your health, and you're connected. You become part of the immortal beings, and these beings will help you a lot. They have a lot of knowledge, and they'll show you to greater places of attunement. And the beauty is I can exist outside this physical body. So when I physically die, I'm not worried about where I'm going. I know I've got places I can go and visit, or stay if I need to.
Mm.
Okay, there's a crystal. As a friend of mine, there's quite a lot of faces in that one. That's up to you to decipher.
Yeah, I can see. I can
Yeah,
see a butterfly.
energy in the quartz, or
Mm.
quartz is what's running your computer, your laptop, your phone. So it's basically a bunch of stones and metals, which will bring us neatly into our last aspect of the elements. If you have a look at that one, do you like that dude? Can you see
Oh,
him?
cool. I like his friend on the end. Got like a bit of smiley face.
Yeah, that's an ancient that's on a mountain. He's rather not impressed with people, okay, what they've been doing to the
I can
land.
imagine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I wasn't going to say, but I take photos and they're in different places. You see the old fellow,
Yeah.
the ancient giants there, like you see the ancient trees that were massive, gargantuan. Okay, this will lead us up into the fifth element. I will give you an overview of the fifth element. Once again, you need to practice the other four elements to really get an understanding. A lot of people try and practice the Akasha when they're doing Franz Barden work, Hermetics, and trying to get into the Kabbalah and true colors and sound. But unless you've really got an understanding of etheric energy or building prana and mana, it's hard to understand. So you're working with the fifth element. So it is the maternal and paternal energy of all creation. It is the mightiest of all energies. It is beyond the material and the astral and mental planes. It is the causal sphere from which all things come. It is ether energy. It is maternal, paternal source from which all the elements come from. It is seen as a violet, or let's say electromagnetic. I like the term instead of the word violet. I like amethyst. I like light to dark amethyst, that color. It's the mightiest and most unimaginable primordial existence. It's the beginning and the origin of all things, every part of creation. The etheric is the Akasha principle, or the God force, the coming together of all the elements and elemental energies. It's the essence of creation. The etheric is the causal sphere and the start before the start of all pure and raw energies. In tarot, it's the four aces. And in Hebrew, that's called Ketha. Ketha, Ether, Ketha with a K, silent K. Once again, what does the K mean? That'll be another talk. So that's the tarot, Ketha. So this is where we get storm energy, and when you're starting to open up your third eye and you're tuning, you've done a lot of Kundalini, or let's say Ascension energies, practice up and down the spine and through your chakras, you'll start to see this incredible amethyst, the purple colors, right? So it relates to the top chakra, of course, which is the crown. So it's an energy really. I suppose you could relate it to storm energy. I'm very much into sort of energy, storm energy activity, and it grounds. So you have to learn to build energy. So we build electric and magnetic energy, and we learned how to ground it through our bodies. So you build up what's called magnetic volts and electric volts of energy when you're practicing this work. Right. So there it is there. So when it creates this, it cracks open and creates vortexes, whether they be in the air, the water, the fire, as you saw, or in the earth. When you start to understand this, you can crack all the codes and the anomalies, and you have an understanding of encryption. Everything such as the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Triangle, the Loch Ness, it all makes sense. You understand how it works. You understand how it works. You understand how beings get in and out of the matrix. And that's what I study, and that's what I love doing what I do, because I'm not subject to the mainstream. So that there's a Siriantra, which is a solar plexus chakra. So when you understand ether and akasha energy, it'll show you how your chakras are moving. You're not just like the nerve endings in your body. You have a lot of nerve endings that end in the plexuses, off the spine, but how it connects. But you're actually understanding your anatomy and your true self. It's very easy to do past life regressions within yourself and other people, or I don't know, whatever holistic modality you want to do, but you actually start to see the chakras as electromagnetic conducers and even beyond electromagnetism. All right, beyond electromagnetism. So you're seeing the body. So if you see the etheric body, it's like a makeup that holds the physical, mental, astral, and spirit together. Because the spirit would just burn out of the body, like that's called spontaneous combustion, because it just has an incredible heat. It's like a sunbeam. So yeah, moving on quite along from that there. Periodic table, when you get rather advanced, you understand how the periodic table, like the first one's hydrogen. If you understand its symbol, it's a sun. It's a circle with one dot. That's your electron. That's your atom. It's one dot. You know, H2O, and then helium, and then lithium, beryllium, and as you go. So you understand that when you're building energy that we do, you create like a nucleus in your body, your solar plexus, and you're raising that up into your heart, and then you're spinning electrons, electric, magnetic, positive, negative, as it were, around your body. So it creates a bigger energy field and more powerful, and it's more contained. So as you build that kind of energy, it can shield your energy, and you're in a healthier state of being, as it were. A lot easier to protect yourself psychically and emotionally from things, as it were. So I'll get into that another time, and different aspects. If you're gonna, that's looking at a pentagram and a hexagram merged together on the seed of life. It's actually a very interesting thing because it creates a distortion. Now, when you start to look at this, you get to understand. Looking at a 2D object that's giving you a 3D dimension. Okay, 2D to 3D. And you're actually looking at the macabre. Okay, the macabre is a way to spin the mental astral body, or to get in and out of the light frequencies. You can't practice it or do it unless you've got a really sound balance with emotions and thoughts. Otherwise, you'll be like a washing machine going out and back. It takes about 3 days to learn it, and then you can access all sorts of aspects, down the timelines, and see what really happened on this planet. Yeah, be going. Let's not go there. As I say, I want this to be light. The Master of Lightning, of course, with Mr. Tesla, over 100 patents that he did, and what he was building, and we would all have free electricity today if he didn't upset the powers that be, as it were. So I have a lot of respect for this man, and a lot of those people came out of Europe in the late parts of the 18th century and the 19th century, as it were, 1800s. Into the 1900s, a lot of this knowledge was still held around. Edward Ledskellian, who built Coral Castle, okay, they knew how to create energy with stones and create anti-gravity so that they could levitate the stones with sound. Okay. And just showing you there more of the ether energy. When you start to look at auras around, let's say, the moon or planets, you start to see like a purplish resin, as it were, or violet. I like the term amethyst colors around things. So it's very intriguing for me anyway. I find it. So that's the ether element if you're just looking at it, but it actually has access to all areas because everything comes from the ether, or the akasha, as it were. Once you work and build up enough akasha, you can access the akashic records, and you can see the true history and heritage of Earth, or you can see into the future quite easily. If you want to go beyond being just a psychic, a professional psychic, a crystal ball reader, you can become a prophet, but that's a full life dedication. So looking at macro and micro, here's the brain cell. See, it looks the same as the universe. I should give a credit for this person who did this. The universe looks the same as a brain cell. So macro, micro, as above, so below, as within, so out, all about. The birth of a cell is the same as the death of a star. Okay, so it's the Ouroboros, the serpent biting its own tail. If you look at the eye, it's the same as a nebula, your own eye. If you look at the corona in your own eye, the cornea, you're looking at that. That's a very simple way to explain things. So you virtually got, galaxy, solar systems, and that running within your own being, in your own molecules, and, your atomic structure and things as well. So thank you. That's a torus field from a very, very intriguing book. So you see it, and that's what happened with the Philadelphia experiment, because time moves in a toroidal field and it spins and spirals. It's not just circular. So once you see that, you're getting into it. And then if you merge a torus with another torus, then you can access the time time continuum, and you can get in. There's a little bit more on that if you want to get into advanced physics, chemistry, and biology, but also you need the metaphysics or the alchemy to understand how that really works as well. So just showing you something in a 2D form, running to a 3D form. So a friend of mine, Jean-Marc, he had these crystals and he'd put them away and photographed, I don't know if it was a quartz, it was a high-end stone, we photographed it and it had a real ethereal energy about it. And I'm just using this as, if you look at it, it looks like a castle. So it looks like it's a world within a world. So when you access your deeper self through ascension and meditation, you can become very, very small in the astral planes, and you can access really small areas, or you can become very, very large like a giant, and you can, you know, go into other worlds and that where you need to be that big. So it's called a morphism. So that looks like we're coming to the end of our elementary program, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. There's the 5 platonic solids, and that is a water crystal, by Missouri Emoto. So it grows in hexagonal form. So that is a universal pattern. It's a life-giving, life force pattern. And 6-point star is part of your DNA, your different DNA. 6 and 5, 5s and 6s. 5th element moving into 6. That's when you're starting to understand 6-dimensional consciousness as well. 5 platonic solids, if you want to get into some pretty advanced things and how some of these mysteries happened on the world. Metatron's cube, if you want to look at that, mastering that and getting in and out of that, that's a key to the macabre meditation, right? If you look at that long enough, you'll see 3D and 4D in that, and 6 in and 6 out, and also key to the hypercube as well, what's called the tesseract. But you want to be in a meditative state to actually sort of see that when you see it. I've got better diagrams, but showing you the key with the 5 and the 6. Right? That's there, all existing within the flower of life, seed of life, and the tree of life. Does that have the tree? Yeah, it has a tree of life in there as well. So I did teach that when I was in Thailand. It took 10 days. It was a really good class. I worked in Chiang Mai with Mark Rasmus, CFA Mark Rasmus students, and it was a real honor. It was brilliant to teach that course. Also, we skimmed across all the tarot and all the high arcana as well, and elements. And then we did the planets, of course, which is part of the tree of life, and what each of the planets do. When you meditate on them, you get to feel what the energies are, and you get to know your makeup, and it's very, very helpful indeed. So,
I love that picture. That's all my colors, my favorite colors.
there you go. That's great. Well, that's what very, very high energy, high frequency energy. They're more upper chakras as well. So yeah, so it's good. Thank you.
Right.
Great opportunity.
Have we come to the end of?
Jeff.
I am live. Sorry.
I think we're just about ready to wrap it up. What are we at? 7:30 now? Is it 8:30? Sorry, 8:30. Wherever you are in the world, plus or minus your hours.
Hey, listen. Look, I know that Andrena's got to go, but we can carry on with the show, Michael. So I have no problem with that. So Andrena's got a lift to go back into town, so that's more important when you arrive in Cyprus without any private transport or public transport.
I know. I always like my own transportation. When I'm independent, in case things don't go, if they go pear-shaped, as it were.
Yes.
You don't get the tourists. No, you don't. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go now because I have a lift, and it's been absolutely wonderful. So thank you once again for sharing all your knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you.
And I know we could go off on this tangent and that tangent, but I tried to gag myself and not ask you questions, but take you off on another one.
A copper hammer. I got gifted that. How powerful is that?
Wow. I got a copper bracelet.
Yeah, I had a copper bracelet as well. Just here.
Yeah.
Where did I put it? Just there. Copper's very good. Race of Venus. What do you got there? Hang on. It keeps disappearing. It's a pyramid. Is that an orgone generator there, Mr. Jeffrey?
I am.
Pyramid. Oh, beautiful. Like steps. Pyramids are good. I've got one here. I'm not going to use the camera. I'm not going to move it around, but I have a lot of pyramids as well.
Anyway.
Well, Andrena can go and we'll carry on with the show, brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. All good. Okay. Thank you,
All
everyone.
right.
Thanks, everyone in the audience. It's been a real pleasure. As I say, my
No,
name's
you stay on.
Andrena.
You and I stay on. Sorry, Andrena's going.
All right. I love you and leave you. And thank you, everybody. And till next time.
Great. The lights. It's good. Thank you so much, Andrena. Have a safe journey.
All right.
Blessings to you all. Thanks to everyone in the audience. It's been wonderful. It's been a real blessing to talk again, so frankly, which is what I do. So,
Well, we'll save you for
Carry
another
on.
date.
Carry on, Michael. You and I are talking. Carry on. Andrena, you go.
Okay.
See you later, mate. There you go. I've got a lady coming in on Saturday. She's doing 2 shows, and we've got to record them. So I've reconfigured the studios and put new cables in, and so put extra cameras. So that's where my problem was this afternoon.
Yeah, you're just drifting in and out. You've got that background. I was told to do that, but I haven't done it yet. I was looking at putting up. I thought I'm just going to leave it. This is an energy wall. So as I said, and once again, I had quite a few little techo issues coming into it. You know what I mean? Like the monitor here went, and then I put another monitor, and I changed the cables, but it's probably a driver in this laptop. So I've got 2 other laptops now. I'm just going to get them up to speed. And then when I was doing the PowerPoint, I'm thinking, I'm going to have to change the PowerPoint in a few areas. And I was doing it, and I just had this flat spot. Hang on, how do I get this over to I sent it as an email, but I thought it was like 23 meg. It might be too big for the email. So then in the end, I dragged it across. And are you going to be able to unpack it? Because it scrolls really beautifully. It's quite good. I can just roll to it. It's
Sure.
scripted, and it's.
All right, let's carry on. Let's just Andrena was.
I just got to. We're still live. You know that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's good. So as I said, I don't know. There's like some sort of I don't know. I call them gremlins, all these little issues that come up, and once you sort of work your way through it, it's like, okay, this is it. I'm cleansing, all these negative beings are going. So it's probably just a challenge that challenges you. That's well, with Metatron's cube, or the what we call I suppose just call it Metatron's cube. You can put all the 5 platonic solids. You can do all of those aspects. They all sort of land within that. It's brilliant. I've got a copper pyramid. Yeah, good. That's excellent. We should get into the metals and the planets. Okay. Thank you for the class, Jackie McGrath. Thank you. That's good. Here we are again, looking at Syriantra and the hypercube. See, there, if you look at Metatron's cube, it's very easy to see the cube within the cube, or the hex as well. You see the cube, but then you see it as the hexagon if you put it on the angle. And that's the beauty when we're looking at platonic solids. If you're adding up the angles, or you're into that mathematics and that, everything works out to the 9. Everything all comes back if you break it all back down to the 9. Syriantra, of course, is your solar plexus chakra and how it moves on. Each of the planets create phenomenal patterns in the sky. So you'll see, like, for example, the dance of Venus. Venus is just on the horizon in the west. She's probably just gone down now. She's called the evening star. And then later in the year, she'll turn into the morning star, and she'll wrap around. But she's probably gone if you're on the east coast of Australia. But if you're in the West Australia, or Thailand, you'll be seeing Venus just setting on the western horizon. So she's going to be the western horizon all the way around the world as you go right through, Middle East, Americas, Africa, and then into the Americas. That's the pentagram, or what's called the pentax star, or the pentastar. It's used a lot in a lot of corporations. The 5-point star, Chrysler use it, Caltex use it. I could just do a whole talk on corporate logos and how powerful they are, to Fibonacci, the golden mean, and how powerful they work on the subconscious. So they've got people's astral body. You're hooked into it, the corporation, you believe it, all the logos. So logo means sun god. Logos is a sun god. So a logo is a stamp. It's your mark. It's just like a soul mark. So the 2 angles on the pentagram, or this pentax star that contains a pentagon, it's a key to self-replication. It's 72 and 108. 72 and 108. Well, why those numbers? Well, once again, I'd have to do a talk on the Fibonacci numbers, and also 108 happens to be the number that they use in a lot of temples around the world, and 72. If you double 72, you get 144, which is a very interesting number, which happens to be the 12th Fibonacci number. It's 12 times 12, as it were. Anyway, it's not just a coincidence. It actually has a lot of power and energy, and it's the key to self-replication. So if you replicate anything or self-assimilates itself, it's the way that self regenerates or regerminates. It's the key to Genesis, basically. That particular shape with the 6-point star, and it's part of the dance in the sky. There it is again with the Ashmolean, the 5 platonic solids, and it's the key to the grids and the vortex points on the earth, if you know how to just keep, using it down the line, tracking it down. So yeah, those 5 platonic solids they're the Ashmolean. They're pre-Plato. Plato's like around 400 BC, so about 2400 years ago, 2300 years ago. These Ashmolean, they found them in ancient England. They were dated about 10,000 years ago in ancient Scotland, which of course was Dalridia, and before that it was Caledonia and Alba and all that as well. But each of those particular platonic solids, they were called Ashmolean solids, and they found them up in Scotland, and those Celtic areas too, probably in the Isle of Man and Ireland as well too. So there's a lot of the tribes come from those areas. It's unreal. That's good. This is basic meditations. We can't do it on radio because people just fall asleep and you can't have dead air. But these are really the basic meditations I did for the elements. I just had that so people get to learn to breathe and slow things down. Obviously, I don't talk like this when I'm teaching meditation classes. I have a lot deeper and richer voice that comes on because
Hey?
So that's right. Yes, I know. I have the ability to manipulate and do hundreds of voices and energy. I can change it very fast. So when you're meditating, you slow things down and you become very, very introspective of self, as it were. Yes, I know. Very entertaining at parties. Oh, that was Mr. Vanya Markowitz did that one of me. He did these of me as their AI generated with my face, how he saw me. How cool is that? That's me as a sorcerer and a warlock, I think, as a wizard. Aren't they cool? Very, very talented man, Mr. Vanya Markowitz. And I said, well, I was burying them. I wasn't going to use them. I thought, I can't use it for copyright. I asked him, and he said, you can use them. You can use them. So, oh, great. I don't want to just, have all this knowledge and energy and bury it, So there was others as well. That's cool. Oh, yeah, the fallen angel. That's me. Yes, in full regalia. That's an armor we build. We build it in the etheric, akashic, and astral planes. I don't talk about that, but that's the stuff that we work on to defend or build our body in this world. These are familiars. It's a dragon. There's many types of dragons. I'd like to talk about the dragons and the dragon culture in ancient Sumeria, and how powerful they're effective. And there's my my chart for costing. Learn to work with hierometics, alchemy, and magic via Zoom or anything. So 20 minutes is $40 with me, 30 minutes is $70, 1 hour is $120, and 2 hours is $220 US respectively. So if you sign up for a program, I will do a deal. So if you do five sessions, instead of it being $1,100, I'll do it for $550 US, and that 5 2-hour sessions, and I will take you where you need to go in your life if you want to do that, rather just, and plus of course you'll build your psychic abilities. So Hermetics is the pathway of Hermes, or Mercury, so you understand the power of Mercury as well. They're all the shots. I did a really powerful model shoot for that. It was really good. Very good photographer. Actually, I was supposed to get in touch with him, Mr. Hitty. So if you're doing basic meditation, you can sit or stand with a meditation. Okay, that's just stuff I put at the end of the PowerPoint. So we learn to build energy as we're breathing in our bodies. We access our astral body, our mental body, and our physical body. You do it simultaneously, and you build the elements. That way, you get a feel. You get to know and explore your astral body. And as you're doing it within your astral body, you're doing it in the astral plane. You're breathing from the astral plane back within yourself as well. So you're getting to learn to strengthen your soul. And then when you do it within the mental plane, you're strengthening your mind and connection to your spirit mind and the greater universal mind. So you're tuning into infinite amount of levels simultaneously. Same as when you're building in the physical body, you're building the elements. So you're building massive amounts of energy and fire. So you can build this energy from magnetism, or electric bolts and things like that. Bolting, we call it in the old sense. So we'll learn to build that energy so you can discharge vast amounts of energy, particularly if you're under, you've carried a lot of negative energy. You can change it very fast, or you can transform it into something very easily, because each of the negative emotions are very close to the positive emotions of their frequency of the element. So you just bump it instead of trying to put all this incredible energy out and shielding you. You just tweak it, just change the frequency, you change the dial on the radio, as it were, or just scroll through to something else more interesting, whichever way you stack it, whichever system or whatever age you come from or whatever culture you come from. You just tweak it to suit whatever's required for the greater good of all life forms, as it were. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. So we'll have this available. So you could please explain to our viewers that where this will be available. Then, won't you, Jeff? Can you
Well,
explain where
it's live
platforms?
right now. So it's live right now on
Yeah.
Facebook and YouTube, and then after the show's finished, I'll put it up onto Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Google, and Apple.
Okay, because make sure everyone can see and hear that. So Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Google, and Apple. Yes.
Yeah, so they're all podcasts. You just got to type up the word Radio FM 88 Australia, and it'll come up. Of all of them,
Yeah.
I enjoy. I think Spotify and YouTube. YouTube's seems to have the show live, but also I set it up as a playlist as well. So and that's pretty good, mate. So and of course now we've got the new listen app, so people can actually listen to the radio station 24/7. So we got rid of the one that goes through Google Play Store and Apple Store. So you just go onto our website now, and then it's all in plain English. But there's also a little 1 minute 30 video clip. It's a combination of Android and Apple. Easy. Brilliant, mate.
That's good. Well, you don't have to go through the big players then. People have a lot more freedom, to access what that.
Well, that's what happens when you find a 24-year-old, who's been playing around with buddy.
I know. I find a 24-year-old. Yeah, exactly. That are wizards. They have their head screwed on right with this stuff. It's exactly, you find other people's expertise, as it were, or other people's energy or knowledge in areas. That's why I don't work on my own cars. I just get a mechanic that I know. I might make about 7 mechanics, so I find that a really good one. And bang, we're talking the same language. It might be with a health practitioner, is the same thing. You need to find someone that works on your frequency, and you talk the language. You're basically telepathing then, aren't you? You don't have to go through all the complicated, idiotic, explaining and justifying yourself and please help me, exactly. I'm an imbecile. I don't know anything about this. So whereas you find you find the wizard of whatever they do, and wizardry is like a visor, that those that can see into something, any field you go, that's where you tap in. Comes from Egypt, the word wizard. It actually comes out of the word who's a vizier, that which is with the god kings, the pharaohs. So it's yeah. So even when you're doing mudras, if you're doing, even if it's, like, say, we're taking Buddhism or Hinduism, they still start with these mudras, like it's, this, they use this as their water, and then this is their air, and that's their earth, that's their spirit, and that's their fire. Now, there are different systems. They do the elements different, if you're doing palmistry, because everything is mapped out in your body. Everyone has individual fingerprints. They have individual eyes. You know, you can look into the eyes if you're doing iridology or scariology. Reflexology in the feet, the patterns are different. And same with like if you're looking into people's, you know, palm reading. You just read all the energy. It's all written in the body. You can't hide. So if you're an acupuncturist or an acupressurist or you're doing shiatsu, you just read off the ear. Well, allopathic doctor, they'll read it off the tongue. So, you know, if you're a psychosomatic practitioner, you read the whole body mechanics. It's like an advanced, you know, body language. You can see when people in their posture, how they are with, you know,
Yeah, Herman Muller used to do that, didn't
written
he?
in the body.
Before he passed away. Herman Muller used to do that before he passed away.
I went to a couple of his classes, practitioners. One of my friends graduated there, and yeah, I watched it. You know, I got 3-day session. They worked on me, which is great. And Henry was very impressed, actually, Mr. Muller. And I know he's passed on now, but he showed me this painting in his house. I don't know if anyone else got it, but it was like this incredible Kali being with light coming out of their eyes. You know, it's like, wow, you know. I've seen that. When I've seen really powerfully focused people, really powerful, high-end, not just teachers, but, you know, actors or sportsmen. I met Kelly Slater once at the Quicksilver Pro, and he has like green energy coming out of his eyes. Like he's so focused, like this green, like beyond, I don't know, it's like moldavite and emerald together. It's like I've never come across. He's so powerful. And I met Russell Crowe, and I forget which.
Oh, hang on. So talking about Russell Crowe, I downloaded his latest movie, watched it last night, the Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah, how was that?
Well, I've got to say, they threw a curveball there because his job was to go and remove any entities in that. And, of course, his bishop, he was under the eyes of the bishop, who happened to be the Bishop of Rome, which was the Pope. And so the Pope understood, you know, the laws of possession and had all the books and all the names of the fallen angels. So
why am I not surprised? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a nest of demons, that place, far out. Might have been good once.
So the trip to Spain, and this is where the flick came across. I don't know if the Catholic Church has acknowledged it, but it came across a really powerful demon who was called the King of the Demons, and had to find his name. And anyway, down below this particular abbey, a Catholic abbey, they found the previous exorcist from the 14th century, and who put a journal together and named the actual demon. And so they were able to use that against the demon. But what was really interesting, this particular demon was multifaceted. He could claim all these different bodies at once. And what took place was
that's the power of the demon.
He got it. Yeah, but he was the king of the demons. So he actually got into one of the priests who went back to Rome. Once he got into Rome, and he was actually then to go in, and he got amongst the church there, and of course then boom, and there's the demons, and he set up
history, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, they set up the Inquisition, and so the Inquisition was all about the fact that the people who were running the church at the time were demons, had taken possession. That was the flip side to the particular movie.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas we feed on light, love, and positive energy, whereas a demon, that's why people don't understand how this world, they can't understand how people, like a beautiful person doesn't understand how a narcissist thinks. So imagine that amplified hundreds of times. The demons feed on the battlefields. If you know, you've seen them, I've been taken across terrible carnage, and you have to be able to stay very, very balanced and just know that this has taken place before. So they feed on fear, they feed on depression, they feed on anger, they feed on that. So beautiful life places. So they want to destroy nature, they want to destroy the oceans, they feed on that fear and that despair. That's what they feed on. And depending on the type of demon, see, there's plenty of kings of demons, and then you got princes and archdemons. It's huge, it's massive, it's as big as the light, in this plane of duality. Anyway, you can go beyond that when you get into fifth dimensional planes, and that's why we learn how to shield ourselves and protect ourselves. We carry what I call, blessed weapons, as it were, but you don't talk about it because it's just beyond, the average meditator or light worker. It's just not for them. But when I went over to Thailand, the students, they were phenomenal. They came from all over the world, and they were hardcore. already. You know, they got into the practice. You know, we're doing, you know, day and night training and practicing, building massive energy. You know, so yeah, it's good. But there's a lot of truth in that. Ah, the special offer. Okay, okay. I'll talk to you later about that. So that's good. Yeah, she's on. Okay. All right. No worries. All right. That's good. So yeah, I'll talk about it. It's an area you just don't talk about, and you don't even talk about it even to advanced students unless people are ready for that kind of area because it's so powerful and it's so negative. So you can understand things like possession and all the spells, you know, that go with different, like druid energy is different to, you know, a magi's energy, you know, is different to, let's say, a healer or a monk. A monk has got a different kind of energy, and in each of these areas you have good and bad, you have negative and positive. It always has been. You can go into any, you know, any culture, any religion, anything. You go into any profession, you go into any massive corporation, you're going to have negative and positive. It's just the way of this world, in and out, dark and light, yin and yang, up and down, negative and positive, male, female. So the balance
Well,
is
you can
where
see
power.
that. You can see that in politics, and you shake your head and you see some of the judiciary decisions and the political
Oh, yeah.
decisions, and they just
Oh, yeah.
lack any empathy or a.
Nope. Nope. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the judges, yeah, they're Saturnian. Okay, a judge is a Saturnian being. They're Saturnian. Satan is Saturday. Saturnian. Sator. The festival of Christmas is actually a Saturnian festival. It was the 3 days, and you'd be surprised how many cultures, like, you know, Babylonian, Sumerian, you know, the same thing is, if you take the Jesus Mary story, it's transmutable in so many other cultures. The 3 days of the resurrection and so on and so forth. But anyway, that's another area I'd like to talk about if you want to get into the ancient cultures. But it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It does. You know, the way
100%.
they build those temples, you know, the stuff, the acoustics in those big cathedrals, it's off the charts. Everything's huge. So they want energy and power. So they feed on power, negative beings. They feed on that power. Well, power's simply that's the sixth order of angels anyway. Powers, they're called the powers. You know, you go angels, archangels, your principles, and then I think it's
Dominions.
dominions. Yeah, then thrones, then powers, or powers and thrones. I've got it here written somewhere. And then you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
into the cherubim and seraphim. And when we were doing our work, we went out to Exophin and Tetraphin. Those beings, well, they're just gargantuan. You'd have, there's no way you can, you know, communicate to those beings unless you're wielding massive energy, you know, massive amounts of energy. So I was very fortunate in my trade. I got to work with, you know, high energy metals and, you know, working with light, you know, working with, you know, AC and DC, you know, plasma, and you know, welding. It's, you know, when you're merging steels and things, so you're working with a lot of types of noble gases and noble metals, and, you know, also you work with a lot of precious metals. So they hold charge, they're good conductors. So if you're working with electrical energy, you're building conduction. If you're building with liquids, you're using magnetism, magnetic, which is the word magus, magnificent, majestic, all come from the magus, the ma, you know, or the mother, or the maternal aspect of source, as it were. So, just gets bigger and bigger. I love it.
Doesn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, thank you for making the trip across the Nullarbor.
Yeah, thanks. I got a couple of shots of the Great Australian Bight. So the plane was really good. It was a spectacularly clear day yesterday. Well, it was. From there, I just left the storm. It was funny. We got on the bus, and it was a coach. And first hour, like, was still this really heavy rain. And we got into Perth, and it was like, it must have been like 3 or 4 degrees, and this wind with this chill factor. It was like, oh, it's really cold. We got on the plane, bang, no worries. Got across the Great Australian Bight. I think it kicks in around just before the Spencer's Gulf and comes back up through the you know, the corner of New South Wales and the Queensland across there. I was just looking at the formations and everything, you know, as I'm reading these, you know, incredible journals and that I'm reading, and it was phenomenal. I got some good shots of it, and the power and the energy, you know, it's awesome. You can just really feed on it. Yeah, there's some, you can do really good things in a plane. You know, when babies feel the decompression, they start crying, so you can put out an energy that stops them doing that. So people say, "What's all this about? What's this for?" Don't. I'm not going to tell you, because if you're interested, you do it. If you don't, you'll never know it. It's not for you. Just do something else, you know, stay or do whatever you want to do. I'm doing this because I'm very curious and I like doing what I do, and I'll never be bored for the rest of my life or the next cycle. I'll always be learning, I'll always be growing, and I like that. And I love life, and I love people, I love animals, everything you connected to. You see life in everything. Piece of furniture that's beautiful, anything. You see a spirit in a car, or a bit of land. You can feel the spirit, the energy. What's called Manitou, actually. Different cultures call it Manitou. So if something's been built, anything's been built, it's got a spirit of whoever put the energy in. That's why there's really, really tricked up sculptures around the planet, particularly through Europe and Asia. The sculptors, they've got their essence in there, so yeah, you can feel them watching you, or they've got an energy. I've got some stories about that stuff. It's next level. I don't care if people believe me or not. It's not for me. I don't care. To believe is to be alive, isn't it? To be alive in something, you be alive in it. That's what it means in my book, anyway. So thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Tell you a little personal story happened to me last Saturday. I went down to Mudgeerbar for lunch, and I was there for a couple of hours with a group of people. And coming back up the highway, just after Nerang, I really started to feel I had to go to, my eyes were shut and I was really, had to, I was falling asleep. Oh, yeah, but I couldn't understand it. And so I got as far as Yatala South and I said, I'm going to pull over here. So I pulled over. The moment I got off the bloody freeway, I was good to go. And then later that night, I was thinking, God, I'm feeling something coming in. This feels like I've got that the flu or some virus or something. Anyway, so what I did was I went to bed with some shuntite. That they the 2 cylinders, one's got a different diameter than the other one, and I just held them. I went to sleep with one in each arm, one in each hand. Anyway, when I wake up in the morning, boom, good to go, no problem. So that was that shuntite.
Stones are like pets, and they'll take a hit for you, but then you got to cleanse them. You know what I mean? It's like a pet will take a hit. It's written in the old. I've got it from that book there. Oh God, there's some phenomenal things about certain travelers in the old days. They're stones. So if you lose a ring, or you get a chip, or you lose a stone out of a ring, it's taken a hit for you. It's taken the hit. The stone took the hit. Like an emotional attack, or a jealousy, something like that. Or like on the highway, unless you've got a high energy sustainability, always have water or something to eat, or play a lot of music, or I'll listen to really deep, rich things. You want to keep your mind and energy, because you'll go into autopilot really easily in a vehicle, no matter what vehicle it is. So, and the tiredness you'll pick up, particularly late afternoon, it's very easy to get tired unless you're in a hurry to get home from work, and then you're very excited. So yeah.
Well, the only times I used to get caught up on that highway was in the late 70s, coming back from the surf club after a weekend on a Sunday, and from Nerang through to Ormo was the Pacific Pines, all those pine trees alongside the old freeway there. And so, or Gavin Way, and because the sun was setting, it was actually flicking through the trees, and as you're driving along, it was like getting hypnotized by the flick going through the trees. So I used to pull off at Ormo there, because that service station was set up there with the old space.
Oh yeah, the old spaceship. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the saucer, the flying saucer was on top of that.
Park.
Yeah, yes. Was that a golden fleece? I can't remember.
They used to feed all the bogans here.
Yeah, well, that's me.
We don't eat horrible bogans anymore. We're leaving.
I used to pull in there for a toasted sandwich and a milkshake, and it would come good then, and I'd drive the rest of the way home.
What did that cost you? Like 25 cents back in the day?
No, the price of fuel was bloody 9 cents or 11 cents a litre.
Yeah, no, it's unreal. Things have changed. Don't really file my nails. I grow talons. I got these really fast growing hands, fingernails and nails. Yeah, yeah, very fast growth. So that's good. All right, Mr.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you to the audience. It's been a pleasure to work and talk and share some of my insight into things. So the elements are elementary. Master them, and the rest will just come easy.
All right. We'll catch up. Andrena will catch up with you and sort of another time.
Yeah, enjoy Cyprus. Exactly. I've been traveling a lot the last couple of years. It's been good. It's great.
Yeah, we were booked out to October now, or some first week in October, so it'll be in October. Yeah.
No, good. Okay, no problem. We'll enjoy. You're doing really, really well. Just keep punching the stuff out. Get up on the platties, on the platforms, man. It's 9 o'clock.
All right. Thank you very much. Bless
Bye.
you, everybody. Okay.
Okay. Ciao.